Hi guys, this is the advisor and welcome back to the channel of upright men and women. Guys, Jamaica is currently on the cusp and the very edge of being a world superpower. And for those of you who have been on my channel for a while, you know that I'm not a frivolous person. I'll have joke and I have a sense of humor and I'll make jokes when necessary. But I am a really serious person, especially when it comes to love of my country. Me no joke about that. Guys, I'll repeat it. Jamaica is currently, as we speak, is on the very edge of becoming a superpower. And I'm going to explain why, the few steps that we will have to take to ensure that we stay on that trajectory, and the reasons why we will be and it cannot be stopped. And for those of you who might doubt what I'm saying, the very first thing you're going to look at is, how can Jamaica become a superpower when we haven't got any nuclear weapons, we haven't got any battleships, we haven't got any fighter jets, no submarines, and our military and police combined is probably around 20,000, if so much. And if you think that way, you can be forgiven. You would be forgiven. I would forgive you. Why? Because growing up in the world we have lived in over the past, say, 50 years, we have always known that it was nuclear weapons and threats of nuclear annihilation and the invasion of countries and bombing people here and there were the means through which countries became powerful. So, given those factors which we have come to terms with, anybody who thinks that way can be forgiven. After all, the countries which dominated the world for the past 500 years, Britain, Spain, Portugal, France, Belgium, and the other parasites that came out of Europe. They used guns, bombs, slavery, massacres, threats, etc., etc. to dominate the world. And least of all, our neighbor up north, the perfect parasite, it went a step further, albeit in conjunction with all those other parasitic viruses in Europe. The perfect parasite have always used threats, assassinations, chemical warfare, bombs, overthrowing of governments, undermining of governments, starvation, everything that could be done so they could control the world. But the rise of China has shown that threats and bombs and coups and overthrows and undermining and destabilization are no longer factors in dominating the world. No guys, I've not changed the subject. I have to give a foundation from which I'm about to tell you the steps Jamaica need to take to ensure its world dominance. The perfect parasite has now run out of friends. Its only friends are the same ones who used to dominate Africa, who are now being kicked out. Entire Africa is gravitating towards, within reasons, the entire Africa are turning towards the two of the most powerful countries on earth that have never owned a black slave in its entire history, nor ever threatened any black countries, nor had any coups or destabilized any third world country on earth. That is Russia and China. Now, let me give you a hypothetical situation. Let me give you a scenario. The perfect parasite is like this bully in school who come and tell you, say, listen man, give me your lunch money every day or me I go beat you up, or me I give you a wedgie, or me I go push your head down in the toilet, or threats of some kind. And because the rest of the class cannot fight, they just give in to the bully. You don't like him, but because you cannot fight, you haven't got the will or the means of defending yourself, you always keep giving in. You smile with him and you even be his quote-unquote friend, because that is the only way that you can ensure your own safety. And he get all the people around him that he wants to dominate. He get them all to do his bidding, including giving him them lunch money and any other thing that they own that he likes. And in return, them don't get beat up. And if you try to leave, him threaten to beat you up or threaten to do some other things that you don't like. So you stay in his camp all the time. Then come along a little Chinese and a Russian student in the class. Them help you out when the bully is not looking. And the Russian and the Chinese picnic actually can fight. They never take your lunch money. They will even give you some when you want it. And they don't tell you how to run your life. At all, they don't tell you no way how to run your life. Eventually, you will grow to just automatically love the Russian and the Chinese picnic and turn away from the bully. And that is what it seems to be happening now. Threats, coercion, extortion using the IMF and the World Bank are not even working, because no third world country now want the IMF or World Bank. And it is losing influence because now the only friends it has are the other blood-sucking parasites that have held Africa down for the past 500 years. In other words, what society has come to learn, or what has now come to light, is that you cannot dominate the world any longer with nuclear bombs, which you'll never be able to fire. And you haven't got the weaponry, nor the technology, nor the money to sustain a war. And because of all of those things, the perfect parasite today at its peak is a threat to nobody on the face of this earth. Look at what they did to Venezuela, that they have been doing to Venezuela, including killing its former president Hugo Chavez, killing Bob Marley, killing dozens of world leaders and influential people across the globe. And that is now coming to an end. China and Russia has used love, togetherness, goodwill, and respect to win over the world. Now, this is where we come in. This is where Jamaica comes in now. We have now come to realize that bombs and threats and nuclear weapons are no longer things that can be used to dominate the world. And everything that Russia and China are currently using to make peace on earth, Jamaica have it 1,000 times more. That is our culture. People across the world looks up to us. Today, as we speak, the two most famous countries on earth are Jamaica and United States of America. And they have the two most recognized flags. But that aside, we have the most distinguished flag on the face of planet Earth. So, the one intangible that we have that is so powerful is social influence. When you have the country, the one country on earth with the most social and cultural influence, that is something that cannot be emulated, cannot be copied, cannot be transferred. It gives Jamaica an edge to move, shape, and shake the world. Now, I could go into a list of all the world great achievements that we have had that no other country has ever achieved, but that would take me about 2 or 3 days to compile and would require maybe a 2-3 hour video. So, now that we are entering the multipolar world, where the perfect parasite does not even feature, here is how Jamaica going to take over the world as the most influential country on earth. We are going to spread our culture in a much deeper and much more extreme way than we have been subtly doing over the past 50 years. And all of these things that I'm about to mention, the onus would be on the Jamaican government to do every single one of them. And of course, they say charity begins at home. So let us start with the Caribbean. We are going to restart the Caribbean Festival of Arts, popularly known as Carifesta. Now, Carifesta, back in the 70s, most of you might not know, but it was a cultural exchange that was held between Caribbean countries. I'm not quite sure whether it was every 3 or 4 years. But this festival of arts would be held in each Caribbean country in turn, where every Caribbean country would participate and showcase their culture. Michael Manley was one of the initial founders of Carifesta, and it was actually held in Jamaica in 1976. And I think it was held over maybe 3 weeks of non-stop cultural activities across the entire island. Now, if we restart Carifesta, seeing that we would have the largest and most talented cultural entourage, sending them across the Caribbean every so often to perform would give Jamaica even greater influence across the Caribbean. Now, let's go outside the Caribbean. We would put together different teams, or should I say groups, of cultural acts like Kumina, Gere. I know that most people have probably never even heard of Gere, but I know that Gere back in the 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s was popular in like Westmoreland and Hanover. And we would have Kete, which is another dance and art form, and all the other form of drumming forms that we have here, and the various dance forms. And it goes without saying that we cannot leave out Nyabenge. And of course, we're not leaving out our favorite reggae artists. When we mean reggae artists, not little dancer, little kaba. I mean men like Sizzla, Luciano, Shaggy, and those type of artists, including like Sean Paul and so on. Build up their skills to a certain level of professionalism, like especially amongst the grassroots acts like the reggae and Kete and Kumina and Brookings, Quadrille. And I think Kumina is the one where you go into Mayal, where spirit overtake you and you go all climb tree upside down and those stuffs. Whatever it is, but all those drumming forms should be included. And send those dance troops all over Africa. Africa we are dealing with now. Spread the love, spread the culture all across Africa. And by so doing, the influence that we would garner from just those cultural performances would be enormous. But there are other things we have to share. Now listen, there are other things we have to share. Jamaica has formulated some of the most efficient ways of doing things. Our electoral system, for example, is one of the most foolproof in the world. Not perfect, because there's no such thing as perfection. But it is one that is admired across the globe. And we can sell that system. And not just sell the system, our experts in government and in government agencies can be seconded to other governments across Africa to help them to streamline their administrations. The way we have developed our economic resilience, that is something that has never been experienced in a third world country before, ever. And other countries, we could send our experts to countries in Africa to show them how we did it and help them to develop it, help them to implement it, thereby getting the same results. Even our tax system that we have perfected over the past 8 years is like none other in a third world country. The way we have streamlined other businesses and developed our tourism industry and all of that, we have so much to offer our brothers in Africa. And what are the benefits? Now let's look at the benefits. First of all, nearly every country in Africa has gold. Apart from the salary that would come in from the expertise that the people we will be seconding to these African governments. Jamaican products will be more highly rated, and we can start exporting more products to Africa. Everybody loves Jamaica and Jamaican things, so with the influence of the cultural exchange that we would have, we wouldn't have the capacity, even initially, to satisfy the demand of Jamaican skills and Jamaican products that would come as a result of that cultural exchange. And Jamaica could take part of that payment in gold. And here is one of the most important effects that it would have. All these countries to which Jamaica would be sharing its expertise, those countries would end up making Jamaican citizens visa-free in their countries. There are 54 countries in Africa, and in the first year alone, at the mere request of our foreign ministry, Jamaicans would be able to travel across basically most of the 54 countries in Africa, which would make us have one of the most powerful passports in the world. Jamaica's passport currently, of all the countries on earth, is ranked 59th. That was the last time I checked. Within the first year of our expanding our cultural and technical knowledge and expertise to Africa, we would be able to move up on the passport index several times, because currently we are Jamaica can visit 89 countries in the world without a visa. 89 out of the what? Nearly 200 countries on earth. We could add at least 40 countries on top of that in the first 12 months of bringing on that exchange. Now, some of you might ask, why do I start with Africa? I begin with Africa because they need our expertise. It's fertile ground for our expertise. And then Africa loves us. And Africa has got all the minerals, every natural resource that Jamaica will ever need in its life. Africa has it. So, naturally, Africa, amongst our own brothers, would be the first place to begin. Of course, I'll have to put a part 2 to this, because this topic and this system, this idea, can be expanded very, very far beyond everything I have said moments ago. And if my government calls on me to expand on this and add more flesh to everything that I've just expounded, I'll be only too happy to help my country to take its rightful place at the top of the world community of nations. Thanks for watching. Like, share, leave a comment below, And I look forward to seeing you in my next video.